Good morning, students. Good morning to all. Last day we have studied the third lesson, right? The theory of unemployment and income. The theory of employment and income. Okay. So in this first lesson, we have studied the meaning of employment and the meaning of unemployment. Have you remember anything about that? Okay, just I will remind you the meaning of employment. The meaning of full employment is a situation in which all the person in a nation have the willingness to doing some work and ableness to doing the same work, and there is a job opportunity or the employment for all. This situation is called full employment, right? So in a nations, all the peoples are having the willingness and ableness to doing some work, and if there is a more chance to having the employment or the job opportunity, that is called full employment, right? Next, the unemployment. Okay, and the controversy of the full employment. So we have studied the unemployment. So the unemployment meaning, this is one of the situation in which all the person in one nations having the willingness and ableness to doing some work, and there is no job opportunity. That is meaning is called unemployment situations. Okay, in a nations all the peoples are having the willingness and ableness to doing some work, and there is no chance to getting the employment opportunity or any job opportunity, mean that situation is called unemployment problem. And not only that, we have studied some of the types of unemployment. Have you remember the cyclical unemployment? Wait. And also we have studied the types of unemployment. Okay, so in the types of unemployment, we have studied the cyclical unemployment and the seasonal unemployment and the frictional or temporary unemployment or educated unemployment and technical unemployment and structural unemployment. Okay, the cyclical unemployment mean this type of employment will be existing during the downward basis of trade cycle. Okay, so we have studied the basis of the trade cycle, So in this basis of trade cycle, when the economic meets the downward or the downturn basis, in that time some unemployment problem will be created. Okay, in the period of recession and depression. Okay, the time of meet the economic activities in this basis of trade cycle, some of the unemployment problem will be occurs. That's unemployment is called as cyclical unemployment. Okay, next is seasonal unemployment. Okay, this type of unemployment, the seasonal unemployment. This type of unemployment occurs during certain seasons of the years. Okay, normally the seasonal unemployment will be occurs in this agriculturist, and same time in some of the industries also this type of the unemployment problem will be occurs. Okay, for example, on the basis of the season only some type of the production will be appear. Okay, and the rest of the time, so all the peoples are will be in unemployment situations. Okay, next, temporary unemployment. Temporary unemployment means this type of unemployment will be arises due to imbalance of between supply of labor and the demand for labor. Okay, sometimes the labor will moving from one industry to another one of the industries, and some of the labor will moving from rural to urban, and in this time some of the unemployment problem will be created. Okay, so this is called temporary unemployment. Next, educated unemployment. This type of unemployment will be created by the educated people or underemployed than their educations. Okay, some peoples will completed their degree, but even though they did not have the specialized skill or the required skill to complete some of the task in any of the industries. Okay, that time the people will not be able to go into the work. So this type of the unemployment is called educated unemployment. Next, technical unemployment due to the modern technology. Okay, so on the basis of the demand and the wants of the human behavior, so the situations will be changed and the new innovations and inventions will be come into all the industries. That time some of the labor, existing labor will be lost their employment opportunity. Okay, this situation is called technical unemployment. Because of the arrival of the modern technology, some employment unemployment situations will be created. Next is structural unemployment. Okay, due to the drastic change in structure of society. Okay, so the basic wants, the human wants always will be changed on the basis of the time. Okay, once upon a time all the people was decided to having the normal mobile phone. Okay, but after the arrival of the Android mobile, all the persons are changed to having the Android mobile. Okay, now the productions of normal mobile was disappear. Okay, so those who are involved to produce the normal phone, they will lose their employment. Okay students, today we will go to the classical theory of employment. Okay, already we have studied about the employment and the types of employment. Okay, now some of the economists also donned some of the theory for the employment and the income. Okay, so first we will study the theory of employment. So in this theory of employment, first the classical theory of employment is there. Classical theory of employment means some of the classical economists has drawn the theory for the employment. Okay, this theory only is called as a classical theory. The classical economists mean JPC, Adam Smith, David Ricardo, and some of the economists were there. Okay, so these persons only called as classical economists. So as per the classical theory of employment, the classical theory of employment is composed of different views of classical economists on the issues of income and employment in the economy. Okay, so not only that, the classical economists assumed that the economy operates at the level of full employment without inflation in the long run period. Classical economists assumed that the economy operates at the level of full employment with the inflation in the long run period. Okay, so how the economy will be operate as efficiently mean, so in the level of full employment without inflation in the long run period. In the long run period mean, so the long run period and the short run period is there, we will study it in our later. Okay, so in this long run period mean, the long period mean, so which is the time, in this time we can easily adapt or exchange the all factor of productions. Okay, in which some in this time of presence or the futures, if the entrepreneur are able to change all the factor of production, it's called long run period. Okay, I will explain very clearly later. Okay, next you have studied inflation. So in this long run period, if there is no inflation, the full employment level will be there. Okay, also, so the classical economists also assumed that wages and prices of goods were flexible. Wages and prices of goods were flexible, and the competitive market existed in the economy. But normally the wages and prices of goods will not be flexible. Okay, because now the wages for producing some of the commodity is increased. So on the basis of increasing the wages, the prices of goods also will be increased by the producer, right? For example, if the producers are producing the pen, okay, for producing the pen, if the producers give the wages to their worker as a 5 rupees means, okay, so in course of time the laborer are asking the increment in their wages. Okay, the producer also will be increase their wages, and in the same time he will be increasing the price of good, because the provided wages will included in the increasing prices of goods only. Okay, but the classical economics assumed that wages and prices of goods were flexible, but it is not possible. Okay, and the competitive market existed in the economy. Okay, the competitive market means the laissez-faire economy. Laissez-faire economy means, have you remember, there is no government interventions. Okay, but nowadays it is not possible. Okay, so in all the nations also have some of the government interventions. In all the nations, the government interventions will be there to control their nation's economic activity. Okay, but without these two concepts, so we can accept the theory of employment for classical economists. Okay, students. Next, we have one law, the Say's law of market. Say's law of market. The Say's mean one of the economists, John Baptist Say's. Okay, the full name for Say's is John Baptist Say's. Okay, he is the French economist and he is the industrialist. Okay, he told supply creates its own demand. Supply of the commodity creates its own demand. Okay, so the main concept, the core point of the law of market is supply creates its own demand. Okay, moreover, he told due to the supply creates its own demand, there cannot be general overproduction or the problem of unemployment in the economy. Okay, when a nations suppose when a nations are producing enough of the commodities abundantly, that supply will create its own demand. Okay, when the supply creates its own demand, so there is no general overproduction and the problem of unemployment in the economy. You understand? According to the JP is told supply creates its own demand. Supply creates its own demand mean, so whenever we are increasing our supply, okay, that increase in supply automatically creates its own demand. Okay, but normally the law of demand is demand only will be increasing the demand only will be determined the supply of commodity. Okay, but he told supply creates its own demand. Okay, when it is doing like that, so there is no more overproductions and there is unemployment problem, but it is not acceptable. So we will study why we should not acceptable. When goods are produced by firms in the economy, they pay reward to the factors of production. But in the same time, the factor of production spend the amount on the purchase of goods and services produced by them. Produced by them means produced by the entrepreneur or the producers or the firms. Okay. When you are seeing this picture, you can easily understand. So already we have studied, the two sector model, like that the output and income. Okay, so the income, supply of goods and services is going to the income by the firm. Okay, so output is produced by the firm. Okay, but the produced output will going to the household sector. Okay, and this income also will come to the same firm, demand for the goods and services. Okay, I did not mention the factors. Okay, simply I will say, so when we are producing any of the commodity or when the producer producing any of the commodity, so they will give the reward or the remunerations for their labor, right? By having the remunerations, they will spend some amount of the money to purchasing the commodities. This commodity is already produced by the same firm. Okay, now how much of amount is earned by the factor of production is from the farms, it will go back to the same farms by the way of spending amount of money to consuming the commodity. Okay, so in this way he is considered the supply creates its own demand. Okay, whenever we are creating whenever we are increasing the supply of commodities, okay, it will be creates its own demand. If you want to understand very clearly about the sales laws, we must consider some of the assumption. Assumption means some of the circumstances. Okay, in the circumstances only, so this law will be applicable. Okay, so by having the circumstances or assumptions only, this law may be drawn. Okay, so what are the assumptions mean? First, no single buyer or seller or input can affect the price. Okay, normally the price is determined by the buyer or the seller or the availability of input, right? But here one of the assumption is no single buyer or seller or input can affect the price. Okay, next, full employment. The full employment is existing in our nations. Full employment means those who all are going to or willingness to doing some of the work, they will have the employment opportunity. Okay, the full nations have the employment opportunity. Next, people are motivated self-interest. People are motivated by self-interest, and self-interest determines economic decisions. Already we have studied, so all the peoples will take the effort to attain their wants, what they want to get the motive. Okay, so the peoples are motivated the self-interest. The self-interest only determine the economic decision. Economic decision mean, so on the basis of the wants of people in a society only will be determined the economic decisions. Okay, what they are produced and how they what they are want and how much they want, everything also will be decided by the self-interest only. Okay, because now the self-interest only will be determined the demand for their commodity, right? Next, laissez-faire policy is essential. Okay, the laissez-faire policy is essential for an automatic and self-adjusting process of full employment equilibrium. Automatic and self-adjusting process of full employment equilibrium. Okay, for this the laissez-faire policy is essential. Okay, but nowadays no nations will have the laissez-faire policy. Okay, next, perfect competition. We should know about the perfect competition. Hereafter only we will study. So already you have studied in our 11th standard. Have you remember? I don't know. Perfect competitions mean, so the buyer and seller easily entry and exit, and there is same price level. Okay, that is the perfect competition. The perfect competitions only will be existing in our nations. Okay, and in the labor and product market also the perfect competitions only will be there. Next, wage price flexibility. Already he told the wage price flexibility have to need to applicable of this law. Okay, normally the wage in this between the wages and the prices there is no flexibilities. Whenever the wage is increasing, on the basis of increasing wages, the price also will be changed. There is no flexible, but he assumed there is a wage price flexibilities. Okay, next, money acts only as a medium of exchange. Okay, as per the assumptions of sales law, money acts as only as a medium of exchange. But nowadays it is not like that. Money acts as a different forms. The investment, the capital, and the gold, and in the different forms. So the money will be act. Okay. Next, long run analysis. Long run analysis mean, so all the factor of production will be easily adaptable and change. Okay, I will tell later. Next, there is no possibility to overproduction. But nowadays all the governments are having the possibility to overproduction. Okay, but as per the assumption of says, it told there is no possibility to overproduction. Next, unutilized resources used until reaches full employment. Okay, unutilized resources are going to use until reaches the full employment. Okay, but unutilized resources are not available till attaining the reaches of full employment. Okay, next, no government intervention, automatic price adjustment only operated. So without government interventions, automatic price adjustment mechanism means whenever the price is increased, the supply and the demand also will be increased. Okay, on the basis of the price only, demand and supply will be determined, and there is no government interventions. Okay, so he taken the 11 assumption. Okay, so on the basis of the 11 assumptions only, this says law of market has been going to explain. Okay, next, implications of sales law. Okay, so what we have find out by saying by the explaining of the law of market. Okay, after explaining and analyzing the sales law of market, we have find out some of the implications. Okay, what does that mean? There is no possibility for overproduction or unemployment. Okay, so already I told when I am explaining about the assumption. Okay, so there is no possibility for overproduction or unemployment, because overproduction and the unemployment is not applicable or not arise in our nations in these situations. Okay, next, if there exist unutilized resources in the economy, it is profitable to employ them up to the point of full employment. Okay, if there exist unutilized resources in the economy, it is profitable to employ them up to the point of full employment. Okay, when we have the more unutilized resource, we can use them to attain the full employment level. Okay, so normally, so it is not possible, but even if there is excess of unutilized resources, we can easily make them to profitable up to attain the full employment level. Next, as automatic price mechanism operates in the economy, no need for government interventions. Okay, as automatic price mechanism operates in the economy, there is no need for government interventions. Okay, so only so the government intervention is need. Okay, normally if there is no government interventions, automatically the price mechanism will be operate. Okay, but as automatic price mechanism operates in the economy, there is no need for the government interventions. Okay, next, interest flexibility brings about equality between savings and investment. Interest flexibility brings about equality between savings and investment, right? Because the investment, the interest rate only will be decided the saving and investment. Okay, whenever the interest rate is increased, so the saving and the investment will be increased. Okay, so whenever the interest rate is decreased, so the investment will be increased and the savings will be decreased. Okay, next, the money performs only the medium of exchange. Money performs only the medium of exchange functions in the economy, as people will not hold idle money. Okay, but normally, so many of the peoples are holding their money in their hand as a idle for their future purpose or the precautionary motive. Okay, so when we are explaining the assumptions, some of the implications are there. Okay, next we can see the criticism. By having the implications of sales laws, we have some of the criticism also. So according to Keynes, supply does not create its own demand. Supply does not create its own demand. According to the Keynes, okay, it is not applicable where demand does not increase as much as production increases. Okay, it is not applicable where demand does not increase as much as production increases, because Sometime because of having the availability of more resources, we will increasing the supply. Okay, but increasing the supply will not create any of the demand. Okay, so some of the economists criticize the Say's law. Supply does not create its own demand. Next, automatic adjustment process. So automatic adjustment process will not remove unemployment. Why it will not remove unemployment? Automatically adjustment process mean, so whenever the demand and supply is increased, on the basis of the demand and increase demand and supply only, the production will be there. Okay, so on the basis of the production already will be produced by the existing labor. Okay, so it will not be remove the unemployment problem. Next, money is a neutral. On the basis of the Say's law, money is neutral, but normally the money is not neutral. Okay, individuals hold money for unforeseen contingencies, while businessmen keep cash reserve for the future activities. Okay, normally the people always hold some of the money for their future purposes. Okay, and the businessman also will have some of the money for their future purpose and reserve as the future activities of the production. And the major of the criticism is full employment is special case. JB says told there is a full employment in a nations, but no nations have the full employment situations in at all the time. Okay. Next, the need for state intervention arises overproduction. Okay, so the overproduction and mass unemployment is existing in our nation. It will lead the need of state interventions. Okay, so without the state interventions, we can't disappear or remove the overproduction and the unemployment. Okay, so many of the economists are criticize the Say's law. Okay, student. Thank you. So if you have any doubt, please ask me.